And there we go. Welcome to this first day of ZOE Empower's virtual mission trip. And these virtual mission trips are a lot of fun. And I can't tell you how excited I am that you all are joining us today. We have had one small hiccup in Rwanda because of COVID-19. They've had some pretty serious lockdowns. And so that means we can't travel across districts to meet with the children live. We do have some pre-recorded videos where we can talk through, but we've got a wonderful opportunity that's right next to meeting with the children live. Is we have Epiphany Mujuamana with us, and she is the founder of ZOE's empowerment program. She's the one that got all this stuff started, and so it's a real privilege to be able to speak with Epiphany today as well. But before we get started with everything, let's ground ourselves in prayer. Let us pray. Oh God of all times and all places, we thank you for who you are and for what you have done. We thank you that through the miracle of technology, we can fellowship with our brothers and sisters around the world. God, we thank you for allowing us to be part of this program, for reaching out to your children in your world, to encourage them on their journey, and also to be encouraged by them and their depth of faith and hope in the midst of struggle. God, we thank you for allowing us to learn and support one another. And God, we ask that you be present with our meeting today by the power of your Holy Spirit. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. Well, my name is Gaston Warner, and I work with ZOE, and I've worked with ZOE. Gosh, I started off as a board member in 2007, and I've kind of been through ever since. And 2007, the beginning of 2007, is when ZOE started with Epiphany's empowerment program. And so what I'd like to do is just to give you a brief overview of the program, and then we're going to travel to Rwanda. And hear directly from Epiphany. Oh, something's happened. Here we go. Let's see. Lindsay, are you sharing screen?
I think that's Bev sharing your screen.
Oh. Well, whoever is sharing their screen, we probably want to stop.
Beverly's.
Yeah, if you... If whoever's sharing their screen, Beverly, if you can go at the very top, it'll say stop sharing. There you go. Okay. Well, okay. So here's what we'll start off with a little summary of ZOE. And ZOE is a fascinating program. I've never seen anything even remotely like it in its approach. And I'm going to, hopefully Epiphany may feel comfortable sharing some of her background with us that distinctively qualified her to start this program. But as an overview, ZOE began as a ministry in the United Methodist Church, although it's always been ecumenical in its kind of staffing. But ZOE began as a relief program early in 2004, reaching out to African orphans left in the wake of the HIV/AIDS pandemic at that time. And but early on, it had some extra funding to invest, and it put out word that it was looking for something truly effective, working with orphaned and vulnerable children living in extreme poverty, particularly in Africa. Now ZOE's also grown to India. And we were introduced to our guest today, Epiphany Mujuamana. And Epiphany had, and I don't want to step on her story. Maybe she'll tell you about how she started the program and why. But basically, Epiphany and some other Rwandan social workers working for other large Western-funded aid organizations, names that you would instantly recognize, became frustrated with a cycle of relief and dependency. You know, these children that they were working with would become dependent upon this outside aid that was giving them things that they desperately needed, but they became so reliant on that aid that they couldn't stand on their own feet. And so Epiphany and her team on a shoestring budget, working directly with the orphaned and vulnerable children directly in the village and the village leadership, over time developed what became ZOE's empowerment model, which is a 3-year Indigenous led, all our staff are from the places where they serve, empowerment program that's community based, and it's led primarily by the participants themselves, these orphaned and vulnerable young people. And so the basic unit of the program are empowerment groups. And an empowerment group is 60 to 100 orphaned and vulnerable young people. And inside that 60 to 100 number, there's 20 to 30 child-headed households. So a child-headed household would be like a 15-year-old girl with a 12-year-old brother and an 8-year-old sister. That would be a household. The 15-year-old would be the de facto parent. Now in ZOE's program, all those households are led by an eldest eldest sibling who's at least 12 years of age on up to 20 years old. But the 20-year-old will have younger siblings. And so there's a wide age range in these groups, everywhere from infants on up to 20 years of age when they begin in the first year. And what happens next is nothing short of miraculous. ZOE's program, through Epiphany's design, helps these young people to make the decisions for themselves, with you all and ZOE and their community leaders standing behind them. And so even and ZOE's not a residential program. It's an empowerment program. It doesn't just give things to these young people. What ZOE does is give them access to the things they need to be able to stand on their own feet and get things for themselves. And that's a sea change. ZOE tries not to do anything for these young people that they could otherwise do for themselves, but to give them the on-ramps they need across every area of life so that they're able to do for themselves. And you know, it's as we go through these next 3 days, you'll see that unfold and what it means. But what I'd like to do today, just by way of kind of introduction, because I want to give you enough of a framework so you know the program you're looking at. I want to share some slides with you. These are data slides. And I realize that you all might not be as big a geek as I am about data. But I think these are kind of fun. They're actually specifically, these are from Kenya, but the Kenya data and the Rwanda data mirrors each other almost exactly. And there's 8 areas of intervention in the program. These are 8 kind of core areas, and then there's lots of sub areas to each of those. What I'd like to do is just fly through with the data we've collected, just to show you what happens in the program. And this is cross-sectional data. So it's a single point in time with 3 different groups, one before any interventions at the very beginning, another one's at the midpoint, so around year 2, and then graduate at the end of year 3 when they graduate from the program. And there's 8 areas, so I'll fly through those 8 slides and one summary one. This is food security. You can see that lots of the young people are in life-threatening situation. They don't have food accessible. And some might have some food, but not enough food. And then you see by the 2nd year, there's a sea change. Still a few families struggling. And by the 3rd year, they have what they need.
No way.
One of the brilliance of the program is that after the 3rd year, the groups don't dissipate. The groups continue working with each other because they've been making their decisions throughout the 3 years. Secure housing is another big one for safety and lots of other reasons that you need secure housing. At the beginning, that's a struggle. A few might have houses that their families have left that are still in good repair. By the 2nd year, you see that situation's changed dramatically. And some of these young people might be renting a place to live from proceeds from their businesses. Others might have already built or repaired their own home. And then by the 3rd year, you see that trend continuing. Health and hygiene, the same sea change between the 1st and 2nd year. There's still some struggles at graduation because of limitations of healthcare structures and the rigors of extreme poverty and the lifelong illnesses that might contribute toward there's still some difficulties in that area long term. Child rights. Everything bad you hear about happening to young people is concentrated on the shoulders of these most vulnerable children. These are some of the most vulnerable on the planet. So starvation and homelessness is something they contend with. Forced labor and inappropriate labor and labor that lasts too long and is not well paid or just paid in food. Various kinds of abuses, both physical and psychological, and then also things like more nefarious things like trafficking and deep physical abuses that happen on an ongoing basis are all part of the story. Any one ZOE empowerment group will have young people that have experienced most, if not all, of those factors. So by the second year, you can see there's been a real change. And ZOE staff can do all the trainings, but they try to get local people to do the trainings. So with food security, if we're teaching farming, ZOE staff could teach the farming, but they try to get a local farmer to teach that. So you have more local connections. In child rights, they try to get the person in charge of enforcing child rights to also be part of the training on child rights. So the children not only have a head knowledge of what their rights are, but a relationship with the person who can enforce those. Education, we want them to have formal education if possible. There's also an option for vocational training. Being able to afford school expenses is usually the biggest barrier. And so this question is, can you afford to send your school-age children to school? And you can see the trend there. Income generation. This is the most visible part. These are the businesses. And so they love to brag about what businesses they're doing, and rightly so. In the first year, income is hard to come by. By the second year, it's changed dramatically. And by the third year, that change continues. Usually by the third year, we're looking at 2 or 3 diversified businesses in each child-headed household. And often in the third year, they already have employees where they're paying some people often a fair wage, and they'll often hire vulnerable people because they remember what it was like. And so you can see that trajectory continue past graduation. We're almost finished now. Community connections. This may seem like an odd question. I can attend community events. But what we find is when these young people first come into the program, the first thing they'll say is their biggest challenge is food security. But on the heels of that, they'll often say, and there's no one to visit me in my community, or I feel more like a dog than a human child, or people, they're ostracized from community, maybe even feeling subhuman because of the experiences that they've had. And so to feel like they're a valued member of community is critical to long-term success in that community. And then spiritual strength. And I love this question because it's not just, I know Jesus loves me, but it's I share my faith with others. ZOE is a religiously non-restrictive and non-coercive program. Any child is fully welcome to participate regardless of their beliefs. But ZOE staff are Christian and share their faith in words and actions across the 3 years in ways that are very gentle and very effective in sharing the love of God. And you can kind of see the results. If our churches shared our faith at this level, I think it would be fun to see that. And the final slide, you've made it through. Congratulations. This one's a bit of fun. It's self-sufficiency index. We have multiple questions under each of the 8 areas, and this is an amalgamation of those questions. With the incoming groups, the second year groups, and the third year groups, from extremely vulnerable, life-threatening situations on up to sufficient, self-sufficient, and then thriving. And I just want to point out the amazing difference between year 1 and year 2, and then the continued trajectory across all 8 areas. And this is with empowerment, where we're trying not to do too much for the young people and allowing them the ability to step up for themselves. So I'll stop sharing there. That's just to give you a framework. But now, without further ado, let's take you to Rwanda and hear directly from Epiphany about all these things. And to prepare you for that piece, we're going to do a couple things. We've got an intro video that Lindsay's going to queue up for us. But before that, I'm going to take you over on a flyover. This is a little hokey, but bear with me. I'm going to share my screen again and use the miracle of Google Maps to take us to Rwanda. So we're in various places today, and we're going to start though today from Hartsfield International Airport and Hartsfield Jackson Airport, because where we're at in Florida and South Carolina, this is probably where we would join together, and we're going to fly to Kigali, Rwanda. This would be a very long trip. This is the real benefit of a virtual trip, is that this flight was much nicer than it might have otherwise been. It would have been 14, 15 hours through multiple airports. Kigali is the capital city of Rwanda, and it's a beautiful kind of bustling town. And our offices are actually located in Kigali now, but you can see it's a very densely populated large city. And now the program is all over Rwanda now, but it started off in the Muhanga district. So I'll kind of fly you over there so you can see a little bit of Rwanda. It's a beautiful place with rolling hills, the land of 10,000 hills, lush green. And from this area, we kind of spread out in concentric circles to cover really the whole of Rwanda. So that's to locate us there physically. And now, Lindsay, can you take us there with an introductory video?
This is Rwanda. For some, life can be hard and unforgiving. But its people are full of hope and seek a change, a better life, a dream. Together with ZOE, you can help those who dream by teaching, by inspiring, by building, by creating, by empowering individuals and communities to start from scratch and build something together. With your help, they learn to live the life they always dreamed of. This is what empowerment looks like. This is your chance to empower and make a difference in Rwanda and all around the world.
Thanks so much, Lindsay. And now the moment we've been waiting for, where we can speak with Epiphany directly. Epiphany, you're muted, but may we ask you some questions, or is there anything you'd like to tell us about how you started this program and why? And anything you'd like to tell us, we are yours.
Oh, thank you. Hi, everyone. And I don't know if I have much things to say because we said everything. But first of all, I want to thank you for the time for this trip. And thank you, Gaston, for leading. Can I share with you this message I just got from the children from the group, the Ineza group, Maybe, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Okay, so I wanted to share this message, text message, children sent on my cell phone. They say, I try to translate it in English. So it is in Kinyarwanda. They say, dear friends and partners and dear ZOE's family, in as a group, we greet you in the name of Jesus. We thank ZOE for, and we give our special thanks to Ben and Louisburg EMC because of your support. Our lives have changed because of your support. Before ZOE, we faced hunger frequently, but now we can find our own food by growing or buying it. Siblings returned to school, yet they dropped it before ZOE. Now we run farming and other income generating projects while we used to do labor for food before. Many of us lived on the streets, but now we created our own job through businesses and projects, and we even hire some members in the community. They became our friends, but before we were isolated. Dear partners, we can't find enough means or enough words to thank you. All we can do is to pray to God so that He continue to bless you abundantly. We love you and we pray for you in our group. That is a text message they shared with me.
That's fantastic.
Okay. So thank you for your introduction. And as I have many times talked to Gaston, he knows all my story. Yes, there is a difference between ZOE Empowers program and other projects I have worked with before, because that was just after genocide, 2 years after, 1 to 2 years after genocide. And I joined project where we did distribution relief program, which was needed really, because people had nothing. Everybody started from zero. No, many homes were destroyed and the people were misplaced from their villages, and coming back, they found nothing. So we did distribution project. But what I have seen, those people who benefited from distribution, after the project, they had nothing else to do. They went back on begging. They became poorer than before. They were even worse than before. And I was thinking, how did we help my people? We created a dependency in them, so they never learned to work for themselves. So I and my colleague, as I shared with my own personal life experience, I said, these children can do something for themselves, because they were working in exploitation way, where they used to work for food, and they were just given just a little food it was not even enough for the whole family. It was exploitation. And I said, if they are strong enough to do that work for other people in their community, and this is exploitation, it's like a kind of slavery work, can't they do the same work for themselves? Instead of begging or working for food, maybe they can make money and buy their own food. They even can grow their own food. So as we started talking to children in a group, they formed the groups, they were excited, they shared experiences. Everyone thought he or she was the only one to have such problems, sorrows, hunger. So then when they saw they have something in common, even if it was bad, to hunger, drop out of school, when they were sick, they could not afford medical treatments, and they were really suffering. And they found they have same experience of life. So they started sharing their experience and discussing way to get out of the situation. And that is how the program, the empowerment model, was born, from putting together our ideas from staff and children. And so I came up with the guidelines how to help people to helping themselves instead of depending on handouts. And I was encouraged to do so because I believed in that model. I believed it will work because myself, when I was a child, I had to find things for myself because I was orphaned when I was between 9 and 10 years old. And I had to drop out of school because I lacked of school materials and uniform. And in addition, I was a girl, and a girl in my country, in my time, it was not common to see girls and women in businesses. So I started to rent a piece of land from my parents and from my neighbors, and started growing vegetables then to sell. My first project was onion, and I sold my onion, and I started other projects. Actually, I used to run many businesses, many projects, growing vegetables for selling, and the cassava, and also selling small things, matches, soap, things like that. So that helped. That was after school and in my neighborhoods. And all mothers in my village loved to see me carrying things on my head, saying, "Oh, matches to sell against sorghum." So they got passion with me, and they even paid me much more than expected. So that is the difference between when you do your own, you try to be independent, to work for yourself. People treat you with dignity rather than begging, "Oh, can you help me? Can you help me?" Every day, help me. They are tired. There is a time when people get tired of you, and there is a difference between when you sell and when you beg, you ask for a help. That is how the idea of empowerment model was born. And I like ZOE because when I met ZOE and they were open, and I shared everything with them, with ZOE leadership, and they adopted the methodology, and they are flexible. ZOE, they are flexible. They don't say, "Oh, this is our money is for this only," but they say, "What are you doing?" Actually, we have the same approach, saying, "What are you doing? I can support you." And when we go to children, "What are your dreams? I support you to make your dream true." And a child will say, "I want to have my own house. This is what I can do, and I lack of these expensive materials." And so we can pay expensive materials. If they are food, we say, "What can you do to get your food? What other community members do in your community to have their food?" They say, "They can farm, they can grow food, or they can buy. Why can't you buy this?" We lack of inputs. How do we start? So then, we give them the startup kits, startup money, startup material, so that children begin to meet their own need. They grow their own foods, they buy clothes, they pay on school materials and school fees, and they even started saving. Actually, as Gaston says, the program takes 3 years, and after 3 years, you have nothing to do with them. Maybe you can visit, celebrate with them, but they have already learned how to meet their own need, how to find their own food, how to do saving, how to build houses, how to even help their community. After 3 years in the program, they are empowered enough to find whatever they need, and they rise up from very low level of poverty up to the self-reliance, where they can join other community in building their community, even building their country. That is how the program works, and I think I have repeated what Gaston said, but this program is really meaningful to children's life, to our community, because we give them something that will last longer, and they will no longer need charity anymore. And the community is released from the pain or the burden of caring for them, rather they join their community to develop together. Thank you.
Epiphany, thank you so much for sharing that with us. We have a couple of questions, if it is okay to ask. I'm going to get the name wrong. Mohanda?
Rwanda.
Thank you. Can you ask the question that you had?
Certainly. I was just curious about the criteria and entry into the program. So I was wondering, how are participants in the program selected or identified?
Okay. Thank you. Can I ask the question? Yes. Thank you for the question. The empowerment program is all about the ownership by the participants, ownership by the community. So to find participants, we collaborate, we seek for collaboration from community leaders, like grassroots level or district level. They join us in identification because they know their community, who is in need, who is poor, who is orphan. So we rely to them to guide us to find appropriate participants. So we first do, when we go to a new community, we do an introduction meeting where we discuss how to help those communities. They tell us what challenges they are facing with their community, and we discuss with them, and they tell us how many children or how many youth, how many families in need. Then we also discuss, beyond that, we discuss how are we going to collaborate? What is the contribution from each part? ZOE's contribution and the community's contribution, as long as they know, because we are, ZOE as an organization, non-government organization, we are a partner to the government. So to help them reach out to their community. So we expect them to contribute from the beginning, from identification, from recruitment, and after we have recruited a certain number in the program, we go back to the office, the government office, to share the list. And once they agree, this is the proper list, then they approve it, and we start working with those recruited on the list.
Okay, thanks very much.
And we have one other question from Brett, and then I think we're going to show a little video so you have kind of a picture in your minds of the young people whom Epiphany is speaking about. But Brett, can you ask your question?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, thank you for your time, and thank you for all that you do. My question is something of the other end of the spectrum. After the 3 years, do the students in the group remain in some kind of community with each other going forward?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, that is our goal. Our expectation is, when Gaston talked about connection, community connection, it begins from the group the working group, when children start to form a group, to work together in a group, and they start even go out of the group, working with the community, hiring them in their businesses and supporting some community members in needs. After graduation, they stay together. I'm telling you, they have formed a family. They call themselves brothers and sisters. They will not separate forever. They stay together. Even those who get married, if they don't go far from the village, they continue to belong to the group. When someone gets married, they organize, they provide gifts and contribution. They play a role of parents and brothers and sisters, in-law, things like that. They all stay together.
Fantastic. And Epiphany, do you mind if we break for a second and show a video so that people have in their minds some of the children you're discussing?
Okay.
This is a video that a church in Texas went over in 2012, and they were partnering with a large number of young people, and 8 were willing to tell their story on camera in the first week of the program before any interventions. But the footage was so raw that they really couldn't use it. And then they went again in 2018, 6 years later, so several years after graduation. They gave Epiphany this list of 8 young people and said, can you find any of these young people? And because, as Epiphany has said, the group stayed together, she found all 8, and they were able to do after video. So this is a real short, just over 2-minute video, but it kind of gives you a picture of what these young people are facing and what transformation occurs. Lindsay, can you cue that up for us?
He doesn't know his age. Maybe he's 12 or 10. 12. He was found in a bush, somewhere in the bush. And there was a lady who had no child living with her, and she decided to take him home. But she's too old. She's not strong enough to care for a kid like him. So, and this is one with hygiene. This is the kind of disease we talked about in St. Gigas. When the home is not clean enough, you get insect in your toes and fingers. You can see. He's the one who cooks. Anytime when they find some foods to eat, he's the one to cook, to fetch water, to find firewood. You see, when they are poor, they don't mind, they don't care about hygiene because they are busy looking for food every time, every day. We have many like him. When we talk, we say poverty, extreme poverty. There is no way you can explain without seeing him.
I just wanted to give you all kind of that picture of these young people. Do you all have any other questions of Epiphany? And you can either unmute and ask your question or type it in the chat function, whichever you feel comfortable with. And at Brandy Street, if y'all have any questions, please feel free.
I have a question.
Yes.
Surely you have some renegades. within a household early on, what's your accountability? What is the accountability of the household to you, or what control do you have to keep them on the right path?
Okay.
Epiphany,
Imagine a perfect
Can I
community.
ask the question?
please.
Okay, thank you. The accountability starts from the group, mutual accountability, because from the group, the working group, they actually formed because of the COVID-19. We are working they are working in a smaller group of 5 families together. But before we worked, they met at working group level between 25 and 30 families together. So when they do, they attend the training together, and we make agreement on what they are going to do after the training. Let's say it is a training on income generating activity or small businesses. And with this, they go back in their group meeting. Everyone proposes a project proposal, and they have to present it in front of the group meeting. And the group approve, this is a good project to do. And when ZOE gives them money, it goes to their bank account, the group bank account, and the group bank account will withdraw money and distribute to each household with a business. And from that business, they make decision how much to do as to create a group fund, and everyone will make a regular contribution. Can be a weekly contribution or monthly contribution. And from that point, make sure that everyone starts a saving program. So, and the group selected leaders to monitor, to help, and to push that everyone make their saving, they make their contribution on the the group funds. And from that point, they continue. As they grow, they get new ideas of getting loans from the group funds. So that is an example of accountability. It begins from the group, and every participant is accountable to the group level. Then we have a reporting, we have a group meeting and follow up, and we have reports from group leaders, goes to ZOE staff, and the ZOE staff submits the reports to the headquarters.
Epiphany, the question that Bill's asking, I learned that lesson early, many years ago. I don't know if you remember the young man, Jean-Claude, in the group that loved his goats so much, and you all struggled to get him on the right track. He'd been a street child for so long. I wonder if you could tell that story if you remember it, because I think it illustrates Bill's question.
Okay, thank you. The boy never lived with other people before ZOE. He found himself on the street. He never went to school. He never slept inside the house. He was just a wild boy. But when he came to ZOE's group, we encouraged him to join other children, and they included him. They were inclusive, and he loved the group so much, and he was like always singing and dancing. But the first money he was ever given, he didn't run any business. Okay, he went for a business, but he started by selling groundnuts, roasted groundnuts, and donut pastry. And he used that business for eating. He ate everything. So when Alice is my first social worker on the program, or program facilitator, the first program facilitator, and she went back and he said, I was very hungry. I've never had enough food, bread, enough bread to eat for myself. And we said, oh, how can we help you? And the group said, if you give him another chance, we will help them, we will discipline him so that he makes profits. And because the group had a bank account, he was forced by the group, encouraged by the group, when he makes profits, he put it in the bank account. So, but beside that, Jean-Claude became a leader to his group because he learned from, because the time he ate his business, it was a shame to him to talk in front of the group, say, I'm sorry, I have eaten everything. I have eaten even this and this. But Jean-Claude, because the group did not exclude him, and we showed him compassion, we told him, we understand you were hungry, but for you not to be hungry anymore, you have to be serious about your business. You may feel hungry today, but you will have enough food tomorrow with your own money. And he started to learn from other groups, and the group also continued to help him. And even the second time he ate his money, the group said, let us first help him. If we eat it again, we sell his goods. So from that point, Jean-Claude changed. And from that point, it took him like a whole year to get at that point. And Jean-Claude became a president to his group. He was good at disciplining the group members, and they respected him. They obeyed him. And even today, we still hear from him. He gave us a call. He said, I'm doing well. I'm married. I have a child. I have my wife. I'm a good man now. Thank you, Gaston.
Thank you, Epiphany, and Bill for the question. Jennifer, you also have a question about what kind of money we're talking about with all this stuff. Would you mind unmuting and asking?
I was just interested in how much money you need, like from us. Is it a monthly thing, or how much does it cost to provide for a family?
Epiphany, I can give a kind of an organization-wide answer to that, and then maybe you can fill in. So in 2019, we kind of crunched the numbers of what's the average cost per child per month in the program. And it was $7.66 per child per month in the empowerment program. And then after 3 years, they should never need charity again. And they've got a group of support around them. And that's one of the brilliance of empowerment. It's not only more effective socially, economically, and spiritually, it's also more effective financially, because we're not trying to give them everything they need. We're trying to give them an on-ramp to get the things they need. So we're not giving them housing, but they start a business and they can rent a room, and then they save and buy land and save and buy materials, and then the group helps each other build the houses. So it's a slower process, but they feel like they've accomplished it with some support from behind. I'm sorry, Epiphany, do you want to fill in anything else around that?
I think no, but I can say with this model, if you give someone like $100 today or 50 tomorrow, like after 6 or 12 months, he or she will show you like thousands. So yeah, it is. Yeah, I sometimes say it is a business investment, because they multiply as they do their businesses. If you, it is like income return. So you give someone $10 or $20, and tomorrow, after 6 months, it is doubled already. So that is what I wanted to add on.
Ah, thank you. Epiphany, you gave us a video about Solange and her family. I wonder if we could pause and see that video quickly and then continue with any questions that people have. Lindsay, can you cue up the Solange video?
My name is Solange Maniraguha. I'm 20 years old. I'm from Ikisubizo Group. Our empowerment partner is FEMC Kari. I care for 4 siblings. I am in my first year with ZOE. I'm happy to see you. Before ZOE, Solange's life was bitter. Just after her mother passed away, she started to be a head of household at 18 years old. It was hard to feed a family of 5 then. To find food, she had to do heavy work with neighbors' farms or working on construction sites. Due to lack of school materials, fees, and uniform, all siblings dropped out of school. On the top of that, they were hungry. Solange could not afford medical care when they were sick. This family also faced stigma and isolation within their community. With all the sorrows and hardships, Solange lost hope and was angry with God. She did not attend church at those times. There was no hope at all. With ZOE Empowers program, Solange is restoring her hope. She has a dream. Solange wants to have a boutique or a grocery shop. She also wants to have livestock. The time she was struggling with all problems and wondering when she may get out of the situation, Solange met ZOE. She received a grant and invested in her business. This is Solange's first business with ZOE, and she started working on it in April 2020. She sells all kinds of food. She sells rice, cassava flour, tomatoes, dry fish, peanut sauce, onions, and hot pepper. Thanks to her business, Solange is meeting daily needs. They are food secured. She grows beans. She buys other kind of food. She bought a piglet. And in addition, she's about having a cow from the partnership with her neighbor. With this kind of partnership, she keeps and feeds the cow, which belongs to her neighbor. In turn, she gets a double profit. 1. The cow produces manure that she uses for fertilizing her farms. 2. When the cow reproduces, she will be rewarded with the firstborn. Then she will have her own cow. She repaired her house by plastering and painting it. She rents a piece of land and grows beans. She also grows sweet potatoes and eggplants. With all those achievements, Solange has made changes in her life. She can find her own food, so she no longer labor for it. They have access to health care when they need because they have medical insurance. They no longer feel isolated in the community because they have a bigger family with ZOE's kids. Now, Solange and her siblings are having a happy life. They have a hope for the future. Besides individual businesses and household activities, we met Solange with her ZOE group in mutual help activity. The group helps Solange in beans planting. Solange is the one in yellow t-shirt. I thank FEMC Kari for your support. Now I have a business which provides income. I grow foods, I have a livestock, and I have a medical insurance. Thank you so much. May God bless you.
So I wanted to ask if anyone has any other questions of Epiphany, or Epiphany, if there's things you'd like to tell us. And if there are no questions, I'd love for you to walk us through a dream chart, and we can talk a little about that. But first, are there any questions for Epiphany? Well, Epiphany, on the video, when she was talking about her dream, there was kind of a greenish turquoise piece of paper on the wall with some drawing on it that you might have noticed. That's a dream chart. Epiphany, can you tell us about what those are and how they're used in the program? And you're muted.
Yes, I'm muted. Thank you. Okay, the dream chart is kind of plan, family action plan, but we help them to express, to speak out of their frustration, what they like, what made them sad, what they don't like to see in their community, because those are the things that happen to them. And they say, this happened to me or my siblings. I don't want to see it happening anymore in my community. And that is number one, because the dream chart is made of 5 parts. Number one, they express what they don't like. Like they say, I don't like to see child abuse in my community, or exploitation, or drug abuse, or alcohol, or any kind of drug, or stealing, or misbehavior. And number two, what made me sad? Many of them have lost both parents, even the whole family, or some family members, they are orphans. And they say they are sad when they remember they miss their family members who passed away, or something sad that happened in their life, or to one of their siblings. Number three, they say what I like, or what makes me happy. Anything that makes him happy, can be play a football game, can be eating some specific food. They can say rice or bread or meat, or like singing, or like just enjoying outside. Number four, that is the most important we focus on, that is make our empowerment model. What I want to do with my future. So that is the real dream they want to achieve in their life. They want to have, maybe someone would say, I want to have a sewing machine. After training on tailoring, I want to have my own sewing machine. Someone can say, I want to have my own house because I don't have one. May say, I want to finish my secondary school, then go to university. I want to have a huge amount of beans. So those are the things that we focus on to help them when they are focused, when they work hard to make their dream true, they are making changes in their life that lead them to self-reliance, to have what they want. And number 5 is on the bottom, at the bottom of the paper, says the life principle. And this principle is something that helps someone to be focused, to lead. What kind of behavior? What are you going to do? What kind of discipline you are going to take so that you will make your dream true? Saying, I will work on plan, I pray, I respect others, or I collaborate with my group mates, or I obey God. Those things that helps me to get discipline. Like many will say, I will abstain so that I don't contract HIV that killed my parents. Something like that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Epiphany. It's such a cool tool. I think if we all had our dreams, especially if it reflected our pain and our hopes, what a neat thing to see every day when you wake up. So,
and sorry, something to add on the past, the experience from the dream also. This helps them to get an idea on how to help their community. If I suffered before, I will fight so that children's rights, to protect the child rights, or to protect my community from drug abuse, from exploitation, from child abuse, sexual abuse. So in that kind, from that, they also they create youth club where they include other youth from their community outside the ZOE's group, and they join together and form a club to for community education about child rights protection, fighting against HIV and AIDS, and now they are teaching the community how to handle the pandemic. So from the history experience, the worst experience, they learn how to help their community and to help their families. I'm sorry.
No, thank you. Thank you so much.
I talk too much.
No, it's great, and we love to hear, and especially from you, Epiphany, because you were the person best placed to answer all of our questions on the program.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions of Epiphany? You can just unmute and ask if you have one. They're shy, Epiphany.
They have to speak in Rwanda.
Yeah.
If they are shy.
Your English is much better than our Kenya Rwanda.
It's okay. Yeah.
Well, one thing I'll do is I'm gonna I posted in the chat function my email. If you want, so some of you have received the information packet for this trip. It's got lots of in-depth information about the program, but also of the specific countries, a recipe for a fun dish if you want to incorporate that since into the trip as well. Or if you have any questions you'd like to ask offline, maybe you're shy to ask them in front of the group, but you'd like to know more. I love talking about the program and happy to speak with you. Epiphany, we're so grateful to you. We're so sorry that we're unable to visit directly with the children today because of the COVID lockdowns. However, tomorrow, same link, same time, we're going to visit. We're going to fly into Nairobi, and we're in Kenya for tomorrow. And there, it's a little more relaxed with the COVID restrictions at the moment, and we'll be able to speak directly with some young people. So what I'd like you to do is prepare kind of your minds and hearts and think about questions that you might ask tomorrow when we speak to the young people directly, which is really hard to describe how wonderful that is. And it's really fun. But before we close our time together today, are there any other questions that you might have of Epiphany or anything about the program?
I wanted to ask Epiphany what her biggest challenge is to the program.
Okay, thank you. The biggest challenge is a big number of children in need. And we cannot cover everyone, but what we have from ZOE is quite good. Yeah, we will never get support for everyone in the country. That is the biggest. And another thing is that many groups are in rural area, and the biggest projects are in agriculture. And when the weather can affect the program. And this is what we tried to help them, give them much training so that they, beside agriculture, they have another kind of projects, can learn on vocational or like carpentry, like welding or tailoring or hairdressing. So to make sure that even if their crops are not doing well, at least they have something beside that can help you surviving. And also together with that, that is where the livestock, animal husbandry is important. So when the crops are not good, they keep animals, can be a pig, pigs, rabbits, or chickens. And because cows is a bigger project, but the small livestock is good to complement with farming projects.
And it's really interesting to me. So there's a variety of businesses. Each family has their own business or 2 or 3 diversified businesses. They have agricultural projects and animal rearing. They have group partnerships that they do with their group. And sometimes a few families will join together in consortiums inside the group. And sometimes if there's a big opportunity, several empowerment groups will join together to take advantage of that. So they have lots of ways to pivot, but it's all driven by the young people.
Yes, thank you.
Any final question of Epiphany? Well, Epiphany, it is such a gift to us for you to give us your time. And just so everyone knows, this program that Epiphany designed and started, as of April of 2020, there were over 58,400 orphaned and vulnerable children actively enrolled in that program, with more than that number already graduated. And it's across 7 countries, 6 in Africa and also India. So Epiphany, what you've started has affected tens of thousands of lives and will affect hundreds of thousands in the future. And we're just so grateful to you and the way that you followed God's call in your life to do this stuff. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, because of you.
Thank you. And thanks to everyone for joining us today. Tomorrow it's the same link, same time. If you want to email and invite other people to the call, that's great. We'll be able to visit directly with the young people. This has been a wonderful foundation to prepare us to be able to ask questions of the young people. They'll be able to ask questions of us as well. So, and when they ask questions, you'll have to answer because it's rude not to. So tomorrow we'll have a little bit of a free flow conversation. Really looking forward to it. My email's in the chat function if you have any other questions in the interim you want to ask. May God bless you, and thanks for taking time to do this, and thanks to everyone who's organizing it. So
thank you.
Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you, Epiphany.
Thank
Good
you.
Bye, everybody.